Hi, we're going to look today at 5 really excellent and diverse Adelaide Hills Chardonnays, and I just wanted to explain to you the experience that I had at the end of June. I drove through the Adelaide Hills. I sort of spent a day and a half driving around. I looked at a few producers and we did some great tasting. But the thing that really stuck out for me about the Adelaide Hills as an area, as a growing area, is it's really diverse and really quite closed. The hills are dramatic. It is so beautiful. It's the most incredibly beautiful place to be. But you can really understand and get an idea of the differences in terroir when you drive around, because you really can't see too far beyond the road that you're on. There's no real vantage points. And interestingly, when I went up to Pike and Joyce to have a look, because they've got a really great elevated cellar door, and I just wanted to kind of have a look out over the region, I couldn't see anything because it was misty and foggy, and that's how it was for the 5 days that I was in South Australia, actually, bar one day. But anyhow, the Adelaide Hills are a really exciting region, and as we know in Australia, the site of some excellent Chardonnays. So we're going to start with the Bondar Chardonnay, the 2021 Rayner Vineyard. So this is from 30-year-old vines from Echunga, which is in the southern part of the Adelaide Hills. It was, as many of them, or all of them are, hand-picked, whole bunch pressed, fermented wild in barrel, no batonnage, but full malo. And we learn something about that when we understand that it's made from Bernard clones. So these clones are also the Dijon clones, 76, 77, 95 and 96, and they are very linear, taut, acid-driven wines, or clones make acid-driven wines from these clones. And so malo really works well because it gives them a creamy undercurrent and it kind of softens some of the acid and gives them a little bit more plush shape. So in the glass here, this is a really, really beautiful wine because it has life and lift and energy and really sophisticated shape in the mouth. This is not a big, powerful wine. This is a delicate, creamy, elegant wine, and I really love it. When I tried it first before coming on air and ensuring that I loved the wines before I spoke about them, it just really kind of came out and went, yeah, this is delicious. Very, very pretty wine. In the second glass, we've got the Coates Reserve Chardonnay. So the Coates Chardonnay and the Coates Reserve Chardonnay are both from the same single vineyard, but they're done as separate picks and separate fermentation and maturation projects. So this spends a longer time in a high proportion of new oak. The fruit is picked over 2 passes. The first pass early to ensure that it has really beautiful natural acid line and kind of taut brightness, natural brightness. And the second pick is a little bit later on to give more tropical breadth and warmth and roundness to the fruit profile, I suppose. So I suppose the thing to know about Coates is they engage in minimal intervention while yeast ferments all the time. They prefer to gravity settle the wines as opposed to filtration. Minimal sulfur where possible, and everything done in-house, which is pretty cool, including bottling as long as it's under 500 dozen. So this, as I say, it was picked over 2 picks and was matured in 60% new oak. And this is really, I mean, where we have prettiness and life and energy and like a real citrus lilt here, this is where we have a bit more depth and power and spice. And this, you get kind of curry leaf and saffron and turmeric on the nose. These are ferment characters. And in the mouth, it's salty, briny, fleshy. There's white peach, red apple skin. It's really, this is a very, I would say, typical high quality Chardonnay in terms of the style that it gives you and the sensation that it gives you. But brilliant length of flavour, 13% alcohol, so really kind of fresh and taut, as well as being powerful. And something to note, 2021. So this is a 2020, but otherwise we have all 21s. 2021 was a really great vintage in South Australia, and in the Adelaide Hills, they had good rain and really favourable weather conditions over the growing season and fruit set, so good yields. But then when we came into the growing season, it was dry, there was no major heat events, and they had this gorgeous kind of long run up to picking, which means that producers can choose to pick the wines whenever they feel they're ready, which is the best for the wine, and it really does help to define the greater vintages. There's no pressure to pick when they're not ready. So yeah, 21, excellent. If you're looking for a vintage tip, that's one. So moving into the third wine, this is a limited release from Murdoch Hill. It's called the Rocket. This, again, is hand-picked, whole bunch pressed, wild fermenting barrel, 10 months élevage in 65% new oak, French, of course. And this I like because this is really flinty and funky, and there's a lot of kind of cool, delicious things on the nose. It's got rose petals and curry leaf and brine and apple skins, and this is good. I really like the nose and what's going on here. In the mouth, this has got heaps of personality, lots of texture. I don't know the clones that they use here, but it's got a real phenolic grip. I don't know if there's some gin clone or something like it. It's got a real explosive power base here. If it's other clones, fine, sure, but it's got a real kind of density and depth and muscle, and I really love this. I really feel like I could drink quite a bit of it. It's got a really nice kind of chew and kind of cashew nut character through the finish. I love it. Moving into the fourth wine. So on the trip to Adelaide Hills, I went to see Shaw & Smith twice that day, once in the morning to get some driving done in the vineyards. And for me, that's really where I understand and where I find joys in the vineyards. Looking at the vines and looking at the dirt and all of the things growing in the dirt tells me a lot about the final product. And we know that the winemaker, Adam Wadowitz, we know that he's talented and that he makes great wine. That's not in question. What I wanted to see was the vineyard. So the Lenswood vineyard is in Lenswood. There's lots of apple orchards in Lenswood, which I found really interesting. Obviously, going into that area from a wine perspective, I was like, God, there's all these all these orchards on really great vineyard area. I'm not sure if that's the greatest thing, but they've got a really long history with apple growing in Lenswood. So it was kind of nice to see. Anyway, the Lenswood vineyard for the Shaw & Smith company is organically certified, and walking through it has this really thick, luscious green cover crop. There's kangaroos. They're doing layering. So layering is where you increase the vine density by planting cordons and allowing them to throw their own shoot base and come back up to the wire. In time, you can cut the new shoot from the mother plant and you have another vine that is a perfect clonal copy of the vine next to it, which is really quite cool. So the vineyard's looking all sort of topsy-turvy at the moment, but it's going to be a really, really great thing. And it was nice to see such a big area under organic management. So 500 metre elevation in Lenswood. The vineyard's planted in 2001. Again, Bernard clones, 95 and 76. And that gives us this real streamlined acid line, but Malo gives it that gorgeous plush cushioning. So this is a very sophisticated wine. 2020 was a warm vintage, but I don't think that it's played out badly at all in this wine. I mean, I personally prefer cooler vintages, but in the hands of a good maker and a good vineyard, it really doesn't matter. It's savoury, it's sophisticated, it's long. There's a really good draw of flavour over the palate. This is a very, very smart wine. I'm looking forward to seeing the 2021, but for now, this has kind of got a real nice chew and grip to it. The fruit is really savoury, and it's a beautiful wine, and obviously a really incredible vineyard site. So speaking of incredible vineyard sites, we now have the Tapanappa Tears Vineyard. So this is in the Piccadilly Valley, and I didn't get to go to the Piccadilly Valley, and I was kind of bummed about that. But this is known for really powerful, driven Chardonnays. So this Tears Vineyard was planted by the Crozer family in 1979. Winemaker is Brian Crozer. It's 450 metre elevation, and it's barrel fermented, of course. This is a really cool wine. Like, this has been a beautiful wine for years and years and years. And if you think about complexity, depth, richness, body, length, line, this wine has really got it all. And if you've read hyperbole about it and you've been wondering whether or not it's true, well, I can confirm for you, this is a sensational wine of global proportion. On the nose is salted cashew and again curry leaf from that wild ferment barrel character. Red apple skins, there's yellow peach, there's white peach, there's nuts, pistachios, it's brine. This is all just on the nose. It's an incredibly evocative and exciting wine. I'm so glad I don't have to spit that out. It's mouth-filling. It goes to the very sides of your mouth. It goes long. I can still taste all of the characters that it has to give now. This is a pedigree wine, and I really urge you, if you haven't been able to try it yet, I really feel that you should. It's one of Australia's great Chardonnays, and it really kind of sets the Adelaide Hills in a really great place if you need to understand. And this is a really brilliant spectrum of flavour and style making here. So Adelaide Hills, love it. Love going there. I drove to the Lobethal Bakery and had a chili Kransky for breakfast on the first morning, and just sitting in the car looking at the map, eating this Kransky, I was like, yeah, I think it's going to be a really great day. And it was. What a shock. Chardonnay, what a great topic. Drink more of it.